Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel. We are back in my backyard. It is such a lovely day today and thought we would record outside. In today's episode, I want to share some of the few things that I've learned being alive for 30 years. And I want to share some of the things that has been really pivotal in my life in understanding existence and understanding what it is to find meaning, what it is to find our purpose. And this is what I teach a lot with my clients. I do one-on-one sessions with them, and a lot of times when we are going through these contraction moments in our lives, when we go through a new identity or the shifts that we go through in our awakening, this can be a very confusing time. It can be very scary because everything that we thought of ourselves start to break down. And this game of ascension, this game of awakening is all about surrendering and softening to the flow of life. While I was working in internal medicine, I saw the sickest people. I saw how the system has fucked them over, and they were old and frail and they felt so helpless. I can't forget this one day. There was this grandpa who was in pain management, and he had used up all of his meds, and you're only allowed a certain amount of pain medications every month if you're under contract with a pain management group, because they're under a lot of scrutiny with DEA, even though the patients still need it. And he was sobbing. I was in the room with the doctor there feeling helpless with him. Later, I'm crying in the bathroom because how can you unsee that? And this frail old man, even though he was in a lot of pain, we can only give him very little pain meds because he's already used up a lot of what he was given. Being in healthcare, you learn to turn your emotions on and off. You have to remain professional when all I wanted to do was hug him. Touch and empathy is so important in healthcare, but when you're in those situations, you have to think logically and to kind of flip back and forth from being empathetic and using your other part of your brain. And I saw so much suffering when I was there. All I could think about was my own grandparents who had raised me. They were my safe place growing up. And if it was them that was going through this, there was no way I could let this happen to them or anyone else if I could help it. So it was a big motivation why I left healthcare. And that was huge for me because it was all I've ever known, but I knew that I needed to work with people who can actually fix these broken systems. Our healthcare is very archaic, and there's so much that needs to be changed. It's not an easy decision. During that time, it was all I've ever known. It's what I studied, but I had to do it anyway. I think the real risk is really not leaving and not trying to go for something new. Sometimes you have to bail, and when you're in that environment, a lot of these doctors, they become just drug pushers to these pharmaceuticals. That's the reality of our healthcare system. And the things that I've seen, especially death, really teaches you a lot. When you're watching an EKG slowly dwindle down, you see this patient flatline like a battery running out of juice. When you're in the room with a patient and the doctor is telling her that, hey, you have cancer, this is how long, your treatment is, probability if you're gonna make it. And there were also times where we were calling the family to arrange end of life care. That's what a lot of internists do. We set up a lot of these end of life precautions and preventative measures so that we can foresee before something gets even worse. And it got so real. Many of them regret not living the life that they want, and instead many of the patients that I've met, they felt like they had to be a certain way and live because society told them to be this person. Seeing all of those patients, it was enough to scare me, like really scare me. I don't want to live a mediocre life. I don't want to end up like them. I don't want to depend on Medicare, Medicaid. A lot of times people don't seek out change because they don't really understand the consequences well, the gravity of once you get old, like what happens to you. Many of our older patients, they're just zombies. You should be afraid of taking risks and pursuing something meaningful, but you should be even more afraid of staying where you are if it's making you miserable. 5 years of pain is a lot better than 50 years of suffering. I would rather be a failure than a coward. Eat a little poison every day so you don't have to overdose yourself in a year. You're paying for a price regardless whether you're doing something or not, and the clock is ticking. You will be a lot more miserable when you're older. There will always be uncertainty, and even though our brain wants to control and keep you safe, it is up to you to contend and to adapt to your environment. It's your moral obligation to pursue what is meaningful to you, what is important to you. Use that as your momentum to propel you to the next version of you. And it is a luxury to pursue what makes you happy. Some hard truths that I really had to learn is that pain is a great motivator. Embrace the truth even when it's painful. You need to be honest with yourself and others, even though it's difficult. Life is challenging, but we can't shy away from these difficult situations. We learn to calm our nervous system so we can do hard things. And so, how do you pursue meaning and not just happiness? Identifying what truly matters to you and what gives you life purpose. You have to be willing to make sacrifices and put in the effort to achieve your goals. You're going to have to put more effort in your life, but that comes with you trying many different things until you find that one where you're like, this is what I want to do. Even this point in your life, this chapter in your life, you could be doing something else. And coherence is really what will help you manifest with your dream life, not just this wishful thinking of manifestation, of just saying your affirmations. When your mind, body, and soul moves together to get to a goal, that's what will make your dreams happen. Conscientiousness is another strong predictor of success. It is one of the big 5 personality traits. So, if you have these 5 personality traits, such as industriousness, you have a strong work ethic, you're persistent, and you have the ability to stay focused on your goals. You have orderliness. Maybe you have structure and you organize, you like to be clean, you clean your environment. You have self-discipline, the ability to resist distractions and stay on task. Next is dependability, following through what you had committed and being responsible. Cautiousness, when you think things before you act on them or you avoid being impulsive. How do you develop being more conscientious? You use checklists, or if you have planners to stay organized, you set small, achievable goals to build discipline. You create routines that can eliminate decision fatigue. You hold yourself accountable for these commitments. You are improving over time through the management of your distractions. Take action. It doesn't matter what it may be, but it makes a world of a difference when you act on something that you think is meaningful to you. And just by taking actions, it shows that you are not trapped by fear, because there is no advantage in waiting. You have to be willing to really challenge your own perception of the world, and majority of the people are not going to take action. But you already have an advantage by trying. The longer that you wait, others are already ahead of you. We see challenges as opportunities for growth and strengthening. You will learn a lot more by fumbling and trying many different things. And something that I always say to myself is that I am my greatest critic and my fiercest advocate. Having that high level of self-awareness, accountability, and a drive for excellence. I hold myself to high standards and push improvement always. You stand up for yourself, you believe in your potential, you support your own journey. The world sees you differently than what you think of yourself. and your self-perception is not accurate sometimes because we're always in our heads. Everything is really about balance. Don't be afraid to fail because it's better to take action and learn from your mistakes than doing nothing. Focus on personal growth. Compare yourself to your past self, not others, and strive for continuous improvement. Set achievable goals that push you beyond your comfort zone. Oftentimes, I feel nihilistic and life seems meaningless, so you might as well do something impossible. If nothing matters, then there are no rules, no limits. You get to decide what really matters. Especially if you have ADHD, there is a study that found people with ADHD physically feel pain when they are not creating. We are wired and we are built to explore, to invent. If we don't, we decay. And that's why boredom doesn't just feel dull, it feels almost like suffering. When we're in school, we had something to achieve, something to look forward to. But after that, what's next? You get a 9 to 5, you get married, you have kids, hope you don't get divorced, and that's the default life script. But is that really it? The nuclear family isn't this perfect solution. It doesn't automatically bring meaning. Humans are wired to create, to push boundaries, to chase something bigger than themselves. That's why so many philosophers, they never married or had kids. Their ideas, their work, their writing, their creations, that's their legacy. And they weren't just thinking about life, they were materializing something into the world. And when you don't pursue something meaningful, it can feel very soul crushing. That's why people numb themselves with Netflix, endless scrolling, and cheap dopamine hits because the alternative is staring into the void. But here's the thing, the void is where creation begins. It's always been that. And especially if you are in the ascension, if you've awakened, you feel this even more intensely. If life has no meaning, then you're free to do something audacious, something so impossible it forces you to become someone you weren't before. Because the real suffering isn't in trying and failing, it's when you don't try at all. I'm going to tell you this story about the zebras. The reason why zebras have stripes is for protection, to camouflage themselves from predators. But they actually teach us a lot about our survival, individuality, and human nature. So a single zebra, it is an easy prey. But if they are around other herds of zebras, when they're together, it's much harder to take them down. Their stripes create this optical illusion, making it difficult for predators to single one out. So this is why community and networks are so important. Humans, like many things in nature, like zebras, we survive and thrive when we move together as a pack. But the zebra stripes aren't just for blending into the environment. The lions, they're colorblind, but they can still see the zebras just fine. If you're not fast enough, then you'll still be eaten. People often try to blend in to feel safe, but in doing so, they lose their individuality. If you never stand out, you never get chosen for leadership, for opportunities, for anything. Another example is a school of fish. The weakest, slowest fish swim outside, and those are the ones that shark gets to eat first. Same thing with zebras. The strongest, fastest, and smartest stay in the middle. The weaker ones drift to the edge and they get picked off. When you position yourself in life, if you are always playing it safe on the outskirts, you're exposed to a lot more danger. Strength comes from pushing towards the core, towards action, deeper into yourself. Humans like to mimic each other's desires to fit in. We don't want to be the odd one out, so we follow what's socially acceptable, but then that boxes you in. People think they want a 6-figure salary, a fancy car, a high-status career, a big house, because they see others chasing it too. But do they actually want it for themselves, or do they want it because it's what they're supposed to want? We question our desires. Do I truly want this, or did I learn this to want it? Observe where your desires are coming from. Are they shaped by social media, influencers, family expectations? Find what is intrinsically meaningful to you. If no one else cared, would you still pursue it? People chase goals society set for them, not realizing that they're in this mimetic loop. They keep pursuing what everybody else wants. Philosophers, artists, and visionaries, they're often the ones that reject this mimetic desire. They have their own unique path, and instead they create their own meaning, what is important to them, or how they're creating their art. If you don't pursue something meaningful to you, life becomes soul crushing because deep down, you know that you're running someone else's race. What is existence? Why do we feel existential crisis? The word existence comes from this Latin word existentia, which is derived from the verb existere. And this verb is composed of two parts. First, meaning ex, meaning out from, and sistere, meaning to stand or to come into being. So, existence is you emerging. Essentially, the term, this idea conveys something forth of you becoming and freeing yourself from the pressure of the previous place of where you were. When the soul is trapped in the body, it will seek to express itself, and you call that emotion, art, creativity. The freedom of expression then is the freedom of existence. It allows you to live your destiny, which is to go to a new position from where you were, to travel a path that leads you to face new adventures, to take risks, to try something new is an experience. Through taking risks, you join together parts of you that had been lost, and this is when the unity, the wholeness of integration happens. Your soul becomes more whole, and to transcendence is one of the most important aspects of existence, because in order for you to exist, you need to leave where you are in order to cross over to another place or a new version of you. Okay, now I'm going to turn this up in a macrocosmic level and explain existence with physics. The big and small worlds. In classical physics, think of the world you see every day as the playground, your school, or your home. In this world, things follow clear rules. For example, when you throw a ball, it comes down because of gravity. When an apple falls from the tree, it falls down, just like what Newton had observed. This is what we call classical physics. It tells us that the things exist in a steady, predictable way. Now, in quantum physics, imagine shrinking yourself to be as small as a tiny ant, even smaller, as small as the parts that make up everything, atoms and particles. In this tiny world, things don't follow the same clear rules. Instead, they act in mysterious ways. Sometimes they can be in two places at once, or they can change when you try to look at them. This strange behavior is what quantum physics studies. Our five senses, sight, touch, hearing, taste, smell, tells us and knows that things are around us. And classical physics works well with our senses because this is how we can explain things, everyday things we see and touch. But physics also tells us that not everything we experience directly is all there is. For example, an atom, they are the building blocks of everything, but you can't see them without special tools. Their existence is proven by experiments and measured even through our eyes can see them. Existence is like moving from one place to another. You arrive and you become seen. Being here is more than just staying in one place. It means that you are active and changing. We know we exist because we think about it. Our mind shows us that we are here, even if some things remain invisible. What exists depends on what we believe. If many people agree that something is real, that helps it exist in our world. But everything really is a conjecture. Part of existence is also about change, leaving one place and arriving at another. This movement is key to being recognized as something that exists. It's like switching from not being seen to suddenly appearing, which marks the beginning of life or a new phase of being. You experience this identity death, you're merging with your old to your new self. When we realize that what we see every day might not be a small part of a much larger mystery reality, it can make us question what really exists and who we really are. And this confusion and questioning can lead to what we call an existential crisis. An existential crisis happens when we start to doubt the simple everyday truths about our existence. We begin to wonder if is this experience even real? Several of these strange behaviors that we learn in physics, which a lot of them have proven already, where things can be unpredictable and not as solid as they seem, this can add even more to this feeling of this existential dread because we know how big the universe is. It makes us think that maybe reality is more like a puzzle with many missing pieces. It can be both exciting and a bit scary. So, yes, the more we think about these big ideas, the more we might feel unsure about our place in the world, leading to an existential crisis. Rene Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am." This highlights our ability to reflect and question to prove our existence. This aligns with the idea that our consciousness it's the key tool we use to explore and understand our existence. Our thoughts allow us to interpret reality, while many believe that only humans are capable of thinking. In reality, there are various forms of existential thought exists. Plants, animals, and even minerals, they all participate in the awareness that brings shape to their being. Humans, however, we have developed this special kind of consciousness that enables us to observe and question and reflect on ourselves. This capacity for us to self-reflect, this is what allows us to continuously explore the meaning of our existence and making this search for understanding an endless adventure. This ongoing process is what we call existential consciousness. When we begin the journey of awakening, it expands our consciousness, and we often start to question the reliability of our five senses. At first, everything we perceive feels real and concrete, but as we open to deepening the truths, we may find that what we see is only a part of the bigger picture. In this process of awakening, there's a kind of unexpected, almost a quantum shift in how we understand reality. Traditional physics, which relies on clear observable data from our senses, struggles to explain these shifts. Our familiar world, with its tangible objects and measurable phenomena, starts to reveal only as a projection or a hologram of a deeper unseen reality. In simpler terms, our senses might be showing us an incomplete image of the universe, and the absolute truth then could lie in what we cannot directly observe, in the subtle energies and patterns that exist beyond our normal perception. This realization challenges us to trust our inner knowing, to believe that there is so much more in existence that meets the eye, even if there is no concrete proof of this conventional sense. This quality of discerning, of recognizing the limitations of our sensory input, being open to the unseen becomes a vital part of our journey towards a fuller understanding of what it really means to exist. Our ability, this existential discernment that marks the beginning of a deeper, profound awareness of the nature of reality. So, why does existential inquiry matter? Because this has a profound impact on how we live our lives. Having self-awareness, realizing that thought is a proof of our existence, encourages us to be more mindful and aware of who we are. This means that we're not just drifting through life, but actively shaping our understanding of reality. We are actively creating our reality based on how we are feeling at the current moment. By exploring our own thoughts and reflections, we can start to discover What is it really that is meaningful to us? This exploration will help you decide what is important to you and how you want to grow. The interconnectedness and recognizing that there are many different forms of existence, whether in plants, animals, or even minerals. They are all part of a larger networks. We are all connected and inspire a greater sense of connection and empathy with the world around us. The more that we continuously grow, having this quest for understanding existence is an endless adventure. This is what motivates us to keep learning and evolving. It's not about finding or reaching a final answer, a final destination, but you are embracing the journey of self discovery because you'll never ultimately get to where your destination is. You just continue to expand and contract, expand and contract. You keep evolving until you die. This understanding matters because it lays the groundwork for how we see ourselves and our place in the universe. This is what guides our choices, our relationships, and the way we contribute. Be humble and open to learning. Acknowledge that you don't know everything and be willing to listen to others. See your ignorance as an opportunity to learn and grow. And also take action. Don't just talk about what you want to do. Take concrete steps to achieving your goal. That's what coherence is, engaging with the world and actively pursuing your purpose. Conscientiousness, this is a strong predictor for success. When you are able to set your goals that you value, break down your goals into micro processes. Take where you are right now and what is your next indicated action. This helps you make them more attainable and motivates you. Create a schedule that reflects your ideal day. It's not about being a slave to a schedule or a calendar, but rather it's how you structure your day to ensure that it is the best that it can be. Negotiate with yourself. Think of your responsibilities as a job and negotiate the balance between work and reward. Aim for small improvements. Even if you only hit 50% of your schedule, aim for another 1%, 51% next week. Small improvements add up. Have a vision for your life. This will give you a reason to overcome the challenges and suffering that are unavoidable in life. I know that was a bit of a long one. This week's homework, I want you to create a desire mood board. What are your true, authentic desires, not something that you just copied from others? And if you can tag me on socials, I would love to see your creations. My socials is blockmage222. You can find me on Instagram and tag me if you did or if you have a mood board. I would love to see it and what you are desiring. That is it for today. I have meditations, workbooks, and one-on-one sessions on my shop. I have linked them down below. And if you want to dive more, I would love to meet you and chat. Until next time, I'll see you soon.